Hello, and welcome back to the Live Reality Games podcast. My name is Steven Stewart, and today we are continuing the deep dive with Skyler. Skyler, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well today. I'm excited to continue digging into your story. I love the little teaser you gave us last time because we're gonna, I imagine, the next 20 minutes or so get into some of that get into some of that fun stuff.
Oh yeah, no, definitely here soon. We're getting to the most interesting stuff.
Yeah. I was looking at the wiki, and I think so. You received, and this is a preview, votes at 5 of the 7 tribal councils you attended, at least,
Mm-hmm.
which is a wild statistic to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm surprised it's only 5 out of the 7 because I know one for sure because I got the immunity necklace, and someone made a joke still that someone would write my name down. Thankfully, that didn't happen.
Did anyone vote for you during the Adam vote out?
I think so.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
6 out of 7.
Yeah.
So literally the only time you didn't receive votes this game was when you were literally immune.
Exactly, which I'm shocked about that.
Well, so let's pick up where we left off. So we're entering in day 3 of the game. Your tribe has just won the first immunity challenge. How are you feeling, physically, spiritually, emotionally at the start of that third day?
Physically, I was exhausted. I was kind of like not feeling myself. I was getting really, really hungry. Mentally, I was fine. Like, I was perfectly happy. I was actually stoked that we won our immunity challenge and I was not going to tribal again. Right? Again.
For at least for the first time, you just because
Was this the first one? Okay.
Yeah.
Or won something again. I just felt my curse was gone. And this is where the luck of my game came in, is because we kept winning.
Yeah, so you have 2 more immunity challenges this day with your original yellow tribe, Galelo. And so the first challenge is, let's see, it's a blindfold challenge. How was that for you?
I sat out in that one.
So great.
Yeah, it was perfect. I was thinking of doing the math one. I'm really good at math, but when I found out that it really wasn't like a math equation, I mean, it was, but it was like way more advanced. So I was really happy that I listened to my gut and sat out in that one because Megan did amazing. Megan and Adam.
And then what about the gross food challenge? How was that for you?
That was awful. I'm a really slow eater in my real life. Like, people can get their food like 10 minutes after me and be done before me. And I never had a turnip before. So that, like, I was so hungry, but I think I would have been okay not eating a turnip and just starving. But I made it like, I think I had like 10 seconds left. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten a point. So I swallowed. I was willing to choke for my tribe to win. But that was awful. And that's actually my biggest fear, was doing a food eating challenge.
And you ate the turnip.
I did. I ate the turnip. Luckily, I didn't have to eat the onion. And I think that's when I would have failed.
So your tribe essentially wins immunity challenges 1 through 3. You have most of day 3 where not much is going on. How was that day for you back at camp?
Oh, it was good. We were talking about a swap for a little bit. But most of it was like we all picked up steaks. I cooked rice, and we kind of just hung around the fire and just kind of relaxed. There was not much, well, for me, there was not much strategy going on. I don't know about other people. Like I've said before, I used to see the boys walking away constantly together. So I'm sure they had some strategy talk why I was not around.
Were you anticipating any sort of swap or anything like that?
I felt like there was going to be a swap, but also I felt like they would keep going down our numbers and then do like a small, like, instead of doing a swap, doing more of a merge like they've done in Survivor lately, where they just keep going all the way to 3 tribe members left on one tribe, and then we merge.
So you're really stealing for the numbers your tribe getting whittled down.
Yeah. So I was just really hoping, like, and that's one of my like unfinished business was to make it past the first swap because in my season I got out during the swap. So I was really scared of a swap. Anytime somebody said the S word, I covered my ears and said that was a bad word. We don't speak of that word. We can say the F word all we want, but let's not say swap.
So what'd you think of the first 3 vote outs? Sebastian, Clark, Nate? Were there anyone, were any of those 3 you think it was supposed to be important to your game? Were you really bummed seeing them go out? Or were you grateful?
I was devastated with Nate, actually, because I did really want to work with him. Actually, it was pretty funny because I guess I did give the best reaction for that. Not compared to other reactions that other people have given in this game. But my mouth literally like dropped because that's who I wanted to work with. I didn't want to work with anybody else. Like at that moment, I had a gut feeling I wanted to work with Nate, and now he was gone. So I had to find somebody else.
Well, you arrive at the 4th immunity challenge, and so what happens when you do hear it is going to be a swap?
Oh, I got terrified. That's when I like sat there and I'm like, okay, this is where like I have to be in game mode now. Like I can't just relax anymore. Like it's time for me to be in game mode. I was the last on the yellow to pick my buff because last time I was the second, and that's how I got on. So I was really hoping maybe being last, I could like this was a sign like I had to be on that tribe. So I'm really hoping. And it turned out I was on blue.
Yeah, so you went to the Equoni tribe, the blue tribe. And so let's talk about it because you went from a tribe of 7 to a tribe of 9, so there's some new people. From your old tribe, let's see, you have I think it's hold on, I'll double check. I think it's just
Megan and Corey.
Yeah, Megan and Corey come from the original yellow Galelo tribe with you.
Yeah.
And then you also get May, Sharif, Tony, Carlos, and Frank.
Yes. I felt
and Austin,
good.
sorry. And Austin.
Oh yeah, you can't forget Austin. I felt good for a while. For like a good 20 minutes. I felt great.
Only 20 minutes?
Only 20 minutes, because as soon as we got to camp, people started talking, like just going off into groups.
Let's briefly talk about the immunity challenge that happened right beforehand. Did you compete in it?
I did. I just handed the blocks to the people. I'm a naturally shaky person, so I feel like me being on that rope would have just made it 10 times worse. But I can hand a block really nicely.
And so your tribe loses this, so you swapped. You've just lost your challenge. You're going to have tribal council the next day. How are you feeling on that walk back to camp?
Oh, not good. Not good at all. That's why it only lasts 20 minutes.
Because you were because as one of the 3 Galelo players, originally yellow, did you feel that there was a bigger target on you because your tribe just hadn't gone to tribal council at all?
I think so. That there was that little fear. Also, I didn't feel so secure with Megan and Corey, like especially Corey. I did not feel any trust. Like I can work with him.
He was your ideal target.
Yeah, like I was ready to vote him out, and now I'm like, okay, do I work with him or do I just kind of just keep him on the side and not really work with him, but use him? But once I saw that May was on that tribe, I knew it was going to be game over for one of us. We were big threats, and actually somebody told me, I forgot who it was, told me that it was between me and May. So I literally had to fight to convince people to vote out my closest friend outside the game and someone I wanted to work with instead of me.
And so was that within the first 20 minutes you realized oh no, it's between May and I, or when did that realization sink in?
I want to say 30 minutes. 10 minutes.
20 minutes, you're good. Then you're like, oh shoot, things aren't good. Then within the next 10 minutes, oh no, it's me or her, and how do I make it not be me?
Yeah.
Frank said in his interview that he was putting work to vote out May very quickly. Did he were you one of the people he came to and pitched her name to?
I don't think so. I think I went up to Frank. because I knew Frank was a little. I felt like Frank did not want to work with me or didn't trust me in that moment, which turns out I was right. But I went up to him and I was like, I'm willing to vote May out. Like, I was trying to doing that of like showing like, hey, I'm willing to work with you to vote out my closest ally to make sure that you will be my closest ally. That's how I was kind of thinking, but I guess I didn't explain it well enough. So I was pitching to everybody of why they need to vote May out, not me.
Let's talk about some of the other people in your tribe that you may have known before, but you're now in the tribe with them for the first time. So what about Sharif?
Sharif is one I wanted to work with. He's one that I talked to before the game started, or not like that day that we're all getting. And I really wanted to work with him. I think he would have been a great shield for me, but also he's someone who's very loyal in my eyes. But obviously he didn't want to take me to the final 3. I don't even think he wanted to work with me except for like 2 rounds. Maybe not even that many. I'm just probably giving myself a little extra credit. What
about Tony?
Tony I wanted to work with, and I felt like he wanted to work with me too. Same thing. I felt like he wanted to work with me for like 2 rounds. And then after that, that's when he started writing my name down.
Talk to me about Frank a little bit more. You said like, you came over, you were pitching May, you wanted to work with him, but just wasn't in the cards.
I mean, I think Frank is an amazing game player. Even an amazing friend. Like, he's someone I connected really well in season 9, and we both kind of used each other. I felt like he wanted to work with me because I was loud, and that will distract other people from him. As I was like, hey, he's being loud in challenges, I want to work with him because of that. But I felt like Frank, he's a way better player than I am, and I think he wanted to work with more people that he's gained trust with. I was willing to vote him out too. I think he probably overheard even May and I were talking. We were close at camp, and we were talking about maybe doing Frank. And Frank's always listening. He's literally like Tony from Survivor, but instead of having a spy shack, he can literally like just be behind a tree and you won't even recognize him. Like, he just blends in really well.
Jeff would like to compliment the Beartooth flag that you have.
Thanks.
And I think one other player in your tribe we had to talk about is Carlos. You're reunited with them on a swap tribe, no less.
I know, right? Out of all things, he had to like swap with me. I think we were good because I went right up to Carlos, and Carlos and I obviously don't have any bad blood outside the game. Hold on, I'm sorry. My cat needed to get out. We had no bad blood outside the game. It's just working inside the game we have troubles. But I think we were coming together because we both wanted to make it far. We both had the same goal. We wanted to make it past swap, and we wanted to make it to merge. So I think we were willing to work with each other, but Carlos was kind of like Brett in a way, just without being out loud and spoken about it. He worked with everybody. So,
talk to me a little bit more about Corey and Megan, right? It's like you mentioned, like Corey was kind of your ideal first speak from your tribe. Megan, you've been talking with her somewhat because you said you'd like the 3 women. Hey, let's come together. How did your relationship with those 2 change in this swap situation?
I feel like mine and Corey stayed the same. I really did not like. We'll talk later on when I did start trying to build a conversation with Corey, but I really never talked to him game wise. Like, I would chime in group conversations with him in it, but I never really talked to him. So that's a bad game part on me too. Like, I should be talking to everybody, but I wasn't making that connection.
He did get voted out before you, so it worked out.
Exactly. That's all that matters. I felt like I probably said in my confessional, all I want is to make it past a Corey vote. I just need him to get voted out before me. That's all I wanted. Megan, I felt like she did want to work with me, but also that's part of Megan's game is she makes you feel comfortable, but is she really working with you? Probably not, unless it's convenient for her. But otherwise, she has other connections like Sharif. I know her and Sharif were super close.
So, talk to me about the rest of that third night at this new tribe. How was it?
I mean, it was good. There wasn't really much of a like kumbaya thing. I think we all started talking. We ate rice. And then people were like, you know what, we'll have enough time to talk in the morning. So then we went to bed. Well, some of us went to bed while the others were up listening to the orchestra playing that night.
So rank me the best snorers of that tribe.
Oh, the best snorers, like from best to worst. Okay.
Or I don't know, however you want to, like, loudest snorers or bet like.
Let's do the loudest snorers because I mean there are snorers there. I am a snorer. I know I snore. But Austin, you know, I offered to share my pillow with him, and I like thought, like, you know, why sleep on a bag? I don't need a whole pillow for myself. And he told me he snored. And I'm like, Jeff snores. Like, it's whatever. I like lay down, and within 5 minutes, everybody's saying, like, I don't know. He is like a fast sleeper. He just passes out. He starts snoring, and my eyes were closed, and my buff was over my face. I lifted up and slowly looked at him. And I was like, I can ignore this. I put my buff over my ears. You could not ignore it. He sounded like Darth Vader. It was so loud. So I got up and moved to sleep in the chair.
You seated the pillow to him.
Yeah. Actually, no, I think I took the pillow. I took the pillow and tried to sleep in the chair, but I can't sleep in a chair. So that's when I kind of stayed up and like talked to Frank a little bit because he was keeping up with the fire and, you know, being really helpful and cutting up wood and stuff while doing that. So, but he was the worst. And then it was Carlos and then Sharif. I was just like, oh my goodness. Like,
so not much sleep was had that night.
No, and then I was panicking because my name was being brought around again for a vote out after a swap. So that was kind of like, that's when I mentally started like having a hard time because I felt like, okay, I came back to finish my business of trying to make it past swap, at least just one vote. And I'm going to get voted out again against my closest ally and my closest friend there.
Were you very clear with May, say, hey, it's you or me, and I don't have much of a choice, and I'm sorry?
Yeah, no, we definitely talked about it. So, like, fast forward to the next morning, her and I went off, and I'm crying like a baby because I'm telling her, like, I got to write your name. She's told me she was going to play her shot in the dark. So I knew it was out of luck at that point. And hoping that people put their votes more on May. And that she doesn't get the shot in the dark.
Now, because the shot in the dark, were you tempted to play your own as well? Were you worried that the majority was for you, not her?
I was worried, but also I wasn't. Like when I got up there, I sat there and looked at it for a while. I looked at the shot in the dark box, and then I looked at the vote, and just something told me like, don't play your shot in the dark yet. Like, it's not time. So, thankfully, I listened again. Luck was on my side. Like I keep saying, luck is going to be a big topic on here because that was my whole game, was luck.
Were you tempted to throw your vote on someone else in case May's shot in the dark did work?
No. I wanted to show loyalty because it seemed like I wanted to be on the majority. And it seemed like the majority did want May out. And so even if she was safe and I threw my vote, I'm losing. I am still with May, but I just lost trust in a bunch of other people.
So May ends up going out in a 6-2 vote, and you catch 2 votes. How surprised were you by that?
I wasn't surprised at all. I knew Austin was going to vote for me. I knew he didn't want to write May's name down, and I was okay about that. I was expecting more votes actually, but I mean, I'll keep the 2 for now and say bye to May so I can stay in the game. But it was hard after that. There wasn't many people on that tribe that I trusted fully that I knew would work with me, and I knew May would work with me, but we were known as the biggest threats. We were the tattoo sisters, so people wanted us out.
So at what point do you and Austin really become kind of, because the way I view is you two really synced up and came kind of ride or die as the season progressed.
Yeah, no, I want to say maybe after that vote, I really wanted to work with him. I wanted to get Frank out as well, because I was like, you know, I worked with this guy to get out my closest ally, but he still does not want to work with me. I feel that. I know the difference of when Frank wanted to work with me and when he did not want to work with me. And this time I knew he did not want to work with me. So I was willing to vote with Austin to get Frank out. And it seemed like everybody was willing to work with Austin. And that was a little like opening for me to come in and kind of be on some side of votes, because I felt like I was on the outs for a while.
So you head into your next immunity challenge. This is like a multi-stage challenge with a lot of different ball balancing, ending with a puzzle. How was this for you?
It was fun. I liked my role. I always stick with the easy roles because I was like, you know, sometimes I want to challenge myself, but also I don't want to get voted out yet for making my tribe lose. So I used to serve and be a busser, so I am able to hold things steady, and I had the ball there, so it was really easy for me just to kind of walk it over and like put it on the board. We did end up losing that one. It was a little frustrating. We didn't ask much questions like of what we can and can't do, because Frank was trying to find loopholes and we couldn't do those loopholes. So then he was getting frustrated. And then we got to the puzzle first, and Austin was doing the puzzle against Josh.
Recipe for success.
Yeah. And Josh got up on top of the puzzle and started looking to see what Austin was doing. So we're yelling at Austin to block it. Not like Austin can really block it, because Josh is standing taller than him and can see over it. Then the red team, they got their balls, and Josh finished the puzzle probably in like 3 seconds. Like,
so going back to camp then, was Frank your ideal person you want to vote out?
Yeah, I was willing to vote out Frank. I was ready to vote out Frank.
So talking about the strategy evolved this round for you.
So originally, Austin got, I'm trying to remember, I think it was like Sharif. Yeah, I think it was Sharif willing to vote Frank with us. And then he got a few more people, and then people started backing out. And then Corey's name popped up. Like, I was out of the loop. A lot of the times, that's why I was so close with Austin, is because I wasn't told a lot of things. I was told what I wanted to hear. And I could tell when people were telling me what I wanted to hear and not the information I needed. I pleaded. I was like, I'm a number for you guys. Like, I'm here to vote with you. And somehow down the telephone line, it was between me and Corey.
And you think it was because the mentality of Yellow Tribe has lost no one, we need to get someone out?
I think so. I think it was time Blue and Yellow were ready to come together and get rid of or Blue and Red, sorry, were ready to get rid of a Yellow. And I think for them, they were looking at Megan, who is good with fire, who's good at challenges, has a strong connection with certain people.
Especially
and
Sharif.
And then it was just me and Corey. So I was with Corey at this one.
So why do you think Corey was voted out over you?
It was all because of Austin. It really was. These next two votes you'll see is really all because of Austin, because Austin's really good at talking to people. I'm really good at crying. And like, I remember going up to Sharif and just start crying because I knew it was me. And Corey and I actually, this is when we did have a talk, and he's like, and I felt like he knew I was lying to him, because he's like, it's either you or me. I was like, no, it's gonna be me. I was like, it's already me. Like, I know it. Like, why are you? He's like, I'm gonna play my shot in the dark. He's like, and I was like, okay. I was like, I'm not gonna play it, because I said some, like, I was like, I just feel like it's not gonna work, and at this point, I'd rather go to rocks than. And so then again, I'm working or going around, and Sharif told me, no, it's going to be Corey. Just act like it's going to be you. And so I was like, I don't need to act. Like, I feel like it is me. Like, there's no acting here going on. Frank was making a moss for underneath our top chart so we can sleep comfortable. And then he made like a headboard. So I knew Frank felt safe. So there was no way we were going to get Frank out that round. But from what I was hearing, everybody kept telling me it was going to be Corey. But
so how confident were you in that?
Oh, I wasn't confident at all.
But you still decided to not play your shot in the dark.
No, I was trusting people. And I felt like, if I go out with, right now, at least I went out knowing I had more trust in people than I did before. And now my trust, if I ever play another live game, I just won't be as trusting.
Well, it ends up being a 5-1-1 vote. Corey plays a shot in the dark, and Frank votes for you a second time in a row, and Austin casts a vote for Frank.
Yeah, it was just nice. I guess I should have voted with Austin and went with Frank just in case. But like I said, I just wanted to be on majority. I just wanted to gain people's trust, because I only had one person at that time, and that was Austin. All the other people I trusted were on the other tribe. I just needed to make it past this to merge so I can be with the people I trust. That's all I was fighting for, and Austin was my only hope.
So from here, you have your next meeting challenge, and this is a table maze challenge. How was this for you?
I was actually super excited about this, because I was with the grapple hooks and grabbing the bags and putting it through the chicken wires, which I did in my season, and that's our one challenge we actually won. But this year the balls were like pool table balls, so they were slippery and too like big for my fingers to grab, and heavy. Red went through that like no problem. Yeah, we were far behind. Well, I felt like we were going to lose again, and I knew it was going to be a struggle going back for another immunity challenge, or another tribal. And losing an immunity challenge was actually harder this time, because I felt so confident that we could win this, and we lost.
So talking about the strategy then after this next loss, because it's just been a whirlwind of a day of just lost challenge.
It was stressful.
Are you again coming in saying, let's vote Frank?
Yes, I was for sure ready to vote Frank out. And I talked to Sharif, I talked to Tony, I talked to Carlos. I knew Austin was on board, but Austin was like, let me do the talking with Tony and blah, 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 because he was closer to Tony than I was. And then I heard again that it's between me and Frank. And everybody's in their group talking. I was actually going up to one group, and I was like, can I come join you? And they're like, give us a minute. And I was like,
good to know.
Yeah, like that's all I needed to know. And Frank was just standing there, and I looked at him. I was like, it's between you and me. So then Frank went and started talking. And that is the moment I knew I needed to play my shot in the dark.
Because really, between you and Frank was Everyone was voting you except Austin.
Yep. And Austin even told me that I should play my shot in the dark, and I already knew I was going to play it. I told people I was going to play it, but obviously people weren't taking that seriously because how often do we see the shot in the dark work? I mean, it worked once, but it hasn't worked with May and it hasn't worked with Corey. So what's the chances of it happening with me? Is very low.
So why do you think everyone was playing their shot in the dark so much? Was it that, you know, it was just so obvious the vote was them and people were doing a bad job disguising it?
I think so. I think people were not good at like hiding it and making it like a cool blind side, you know? Like I feel like if you with the shot in the dark, I feel like we're supposed to keep the votes low, like on the down low. But I felt like everybody knew what was going on with what the votes were going to be. That people were like, well, I'd rather just lose my vote and hope for the best, because if you go out and not play your shot in the dark, it's kind of silly, you know? Like you had an opportunity to save yourself and you didn't. So I just felt like people just didn't want that like holding above them, like, you know, like sitting next to an idol and not really knowing there's an idol there until you watch it back. And you look and you're like, wow, I could have had an idol this whole time, but I wasn't looking down. Like you don't want that on your record. I thought Frank was going to play his shot in the dark, to be honest.
Well, because it sounds like at least like you were well aware the vote was coming your way, even before people were telling you bluntly, play your shot in the dark.
Yeah, no, I knew the people's body language to me, the way people were talking to me. I was like, okay. I went through this before in my season where I had Shane smiling at me and telling me I'm safe, I'm fine. And now I have people telling me like, you're not fine, play your shot in the dark. So it's really, really scary. And I'm sitting there like, am I really about to go out on a vote against Frank? Where I wanted to go to merge with Frank. Like I really wanted to make it far with him. But that was scary. I literally, that was probably one of my happiest moments. And I felt bad because when we got to tribal, I started doing a little dance in my seat because it was like the happiest I've ever been.
To be at tribal?
Yeah, well, to get safe and be safe.
Okay. So talk to me like when you were going to the voting booth and you're playing your shot in the dark, did you just pick a random scroll? Did you look at them and say, this is the one? How'd you do it?
I closed my eyes and just picked one. I gave it a kiss and I put it to the sky and I said, please be safe. That was literally all I did.
You go back and you sit down, you know, how resigned are you? Like, I know it's a 1 in 1, I think it was like a 1 in 7 shot or 1 in 9 shot. I think because it adjusted based off how many people were in your tribe. So it's like the odds are really not in your favor.
I didn't have any hope. I was ready to go. I kind of mentally prepared myself like that I was going to go. I was not happy. I was really upset. I was frustrated. I did not think like I would make it past that tribal. I thought I would go home.
So Parker says, any advantages? You go up, you deliver your scroll. Walk me through just how you feel in the moment when that's revealed.
Oh, it's so scary. Like, I mean, Parker takes forever to read it. Like, he's like wanting you to shake in your seat. Like, he's like sitting there and he's no like smile, no emotion. It's really nerve-wracking. And he's like, Skyler, you are, and then he shows safe. My heart dropped. I started tearing up again. And I started shaking my body and just wanted to like jump up and down and like scream. But it wasn't really more until I saw all the votes were all against me, except one, that I got really excited.
And so Frank goes out by just Austin's vote that round.
It was amazing. It was finally happening.
And so talk me through the walk back to camp after tribal council. What was that like?
I felt like people were more awkward about it than I was. I'm sitting there like just smiling about it like, oh, okay, guys, like this is your fault. Tony felt bad He and I were talking, and he was crying, and we had a heart to heart, and he was telling me that he had to do it, and to work with his people and show his trust, which I understand, but I did tell him, you lost my trust, and it's going to be a little bit till you gain it back. I was honest with him because I was hurt that Tony wrote my name down, and he said it was like picking two kids because he was mine and Frank's tribe handlers. So he knew us well, and he wanted to work with Frank, and he wanted to work with me. And when it came between me and Frank, he had to pick two kids, and he picked Frank instead of me because he knew Frank would work with him later on, as I would probably switch and go with someone else. So, yeah, that was Sharif. Everybody kept saying sorry, but I really didn't believe them. It was like, one of those like sob stories, and I'm like, whatever. Like, I had to kind of keep my cool because I was really ready to just start like lashing out again and like just start calling people out and saying, you told me this, and making like things messy. But I was like, no, I'm here to make it far. The merge is coming soon. I can feel it. So I just kept my mouth shut and a positive attitude, and I was just super thankful that I was still there.
Well, you have another community challenge coming up. This is the run and do trivia, then do some basketball challenge, I believe.
No.
Oh.
Well, yeah, it was. Okay. Yeah, it was. Sorry.
How was this challenge for you?
Oh, it was fine. This one, because I was like, well...
Oh, before we get the challenge, talk to me about what happens when everyone learns that Frank's voted out.
Oh, my goodness. This is all just so silly. We walk up. I feel bad laughing about this. Lydia is crying. Amber is like, who did this? Who voted him? And like everybody's all like upset. And I was like, come on. I was like, this is silly. I was like, you guys had to know that Frank was going next. I know Lydia and Frank are super close, and I love their friendship. And, I was upset with May getting voted out, but it was just a lot for me to like, I looked over and kind of looked at everybody else and was like, see, nobody would be like crying if I got voted out. You knew Frank was like going to work with other people. Like that was like showing right there that we weren't wrong about Frank, that he had many, many people wanting to work with him. So I think it was silly, but I understand it's a game and we're all close friends. Some closer than others, and when you're out there you gain bigger connections because that's really the only interaction you're getting from anybody. But yeah, I kind of looked over and I had to roll my eyes a little bit. My villainous side was coming out in that moment.
Back to the challenge, which James has fond memories of competing in this challenge prior season. You were saying, how was the challenge for you?
Oh, this challenge was great. So it wasn't a trivia one.
Okay.
I was really, really hoping it was because I remember last year's, it was the trivia one. And like I've said before, I studied that book. I was ready. I was like, good, a challenge I can do. But it was another luck challenge where you had to run, lift up, and find your block and run it back. But if you didn't find your block, you had to close it, run back, and run back to the chest. I felt confident. I was like, I just did the shot in the dark, and it was lucky. I got lucky. So this is a challenge on luck. That's really all it is luck. And so we did it. We did it really, really well and really fast. I got to mine. I messed up the first time and ran back, but I was at the closest one and got it on my second try. And we were down there before the red even got, I think, their third block. So we were really in the lead, and we all were hungry. So we really were more focused on that food. And we all were honest with each other, what we were good at and what we felt comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like I was honest, I was like, I'm not really good at shooting hoops. Like I'm awful at basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I need to go up to the closest one. If I'm gonna have any chance, I need to be right there. And there's no way I'm getting back in that lake. No way. And Tony was really good at the lake, and we had a really good teamwork going. Like Tony would throw someone, we would pass it and kind of keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
That one I did really well at, and same with everybody else on my tribe, like especially when it came to throwing the balls in. I'm sure we all got a little frustrated, but we kept a positive outlook and we kept going.
Mm-hmm.
When I made my ball in, it was probably one of my most exciting moments, and I thank Damien's son because he's been into basketball lately, and he showed me how to shoot a basketball before. So I kind of took that technique to throw it in, and it took 2 times compared to probably like 8. So that was like a weight lifted off my shoulders, and we won that one, and we got to eat.
How was the food back at camp?
Oh my goodness, it was so good. We're licking the plate, so like it was a chicken pasta, like with some, it was spicy, which is really good. But we cut it into like thirds, 2 plates, cut it into thirds, and we all like sat outside our opening and actually had like a nice picnic where we all talked to each other and we were having a good time. Probably because we weren't voting somebody out that night. But you see Megan licking her plate and I'm sitting there licking the plate. It was really, really good. It was cold, but it was
Food is food.
If food is food, I don't really care what it was. It was great.
Now, had your tribe lost that challenge, what do you think would have happened?
I would have gone home.
Okay.
I know that for a fact. I was the cockroach of the season probably for a reason. People kept trying to get me out, and I just somehow kept getting my way back in this game. There was like no getting me out. So it was kind of nice, but I knew if we would have lost that, that's why like I was super happy that we won, because I would have been out that round.
Like who would you have voted for on the way out the door?
Probably Megan.
Really? Why?
Yeah. Because I knew Merge was coming up soon. She's really, really good physically, and I didn't want to go against her in an individual immunity challenge.
Is there anyone you wanted to have voted out in the other tribe at that next tribal council?
No, because I wanted to work with Lydia and Taylor. I wanted to work with Carly and Brent. Like I wanted them to stay, and Adam. So I felt more safe on the other tribe. So really I didn't want anybody on that tribe to go. I wanted to jump ship and be with them at that moment. So
the next day, you learn that you're not quite having a merge just yet. You're going to need to earn the merge. And you have to compete in one of 3 challenges: a skill, a memory, and a endurance challenge. Which of those challenges do you choose to compete in?
Oh, I did the memory.
How is that? How is that? Who are you competing against?
I did it with Carly, Adam, Amber, and it was me. And I felt very, very confident because I found out that 2 people were able to make it in. I knew if it was just one, I wouldn't have won because Carly is amazing at memorizing. But I felt like I had a good chance against Amber and Adam. And I made a little song about it in my head. Like as they were telling the story, I'm literally moving my head and making a whole song about it. Adam started getting nervous and flipped his block, and he didn't answer right away. And then Amber messed up on the second one right away. So I threw my block. The amount of times I threw things when I got excited was ridiculous. Because one, I made it to merge. I made it past all this messiness in the swap. And I made it to merge. And I won't be voted out. So it was really, really nice. There was no way I was going to do a beanbag one. I'm awful at throwing.
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to do an endurance one.
Mm-hmm.
But the memory one spoke to me, and I knew I could have won that because that was my main goal. I didn't want to challenge myself at that point. I just wanted to make it to merge. I was so close.
So you end up winning along with Austin, Todd, Carly, you said, Tony, Sharif, and Josh. And so 7
Yeah.
of you are sequestered off while the other tribe members strategize and vote someone out. How was that experience?
It was really, really nice. I got to talk to Josh a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I really, really wish we'll get to that later. That I did stay working with Josh because
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to work with him. He was a cool guy. I could learn a lot from him, and he was just someone I was able to talk
Mm-hmm.
to naturally. Seeing Todd, I felt a little uneasy.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you know what? At this point, I need to gain his trust, and I need to kind of just see where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked me, he's like, we're still good. And I was like, oh, yeah, we're still good. Like, he asked me who I was feeling comfortable with. And I was like,
Not
awesome.
those people.
Right? Like, I basically said I was on the bottom on the whole tribe. And I think people thought I wasn't being serious because I do have a customer service voice when I talk to people. It's really bad. When I answer the phone, even, it's a customer, like, it just comes out. So people think of that as I'm lying to them when it's really just give it a couple minutes and it will go back to my normal voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like he trusted me 100%. And I told Sharif, like, I really want to work with him, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, Austin, we knew we were good. Mm-hmm. Carly, I knew we would be good and be able to talk later on. Mm-hmm. It was mainly that group of guys that I wanted to show, like, hey, you can trust me. Like, I'm willing to work with you. I trust you. Like, you need to trust me. Like, blah, 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 blah. I haven't lied to them once.
Because it feels like coming into merge, you're kind of short on allies, right?
I've been short on allies this whole time.
Because it sounds like from your original tribe, you're good with Carly, and there's not, and like, but Todd and Megan are really linked up, and Megan just voted for you, and then Adam's a wild card, and then you have Austin, and then everyone else from your merge swap tribe also just voted for you. So it's kind of like, you know, who are my people?
Exactly. I felt on the outs. I completely understood where Amber and Reynolds were coming when nobody wanted to talk to them, because I was like that for a lot of the game. People didn't want to talk to me or work with me, except during one move, but that was really after the whole merge piece and after the Taylor vote. We'll get there, but it was hard.
The losing group goes to tribal council, and Brent, who is someone you're working with, gets voted out.
I know.
Which I'll figure out more what was going down at the vote, but it felt like, I don't think I've talked to a single person who attended that tribal council yet. I've only talked to 4 people, but it feels like it could be like a get the yellow out mentality still.
Oh, yeah. And I think people saw Brent as a physical player. I mean, first of all, during that lake challenge where you had to swim, he was like a mermaid and just went back and forth, no problem, super fast. I would say maybe like a minute and 30 seconds it took him. He did that one challenge with Megan, where he stood up there for. So I think people saw him more as a physical threat. And I think people did not want to go to individual immunity with physical threats.
So talking about your merge piece, because you are officially a merged tribe now.
Yes, it was so good. I literally didn't care about anything else. That wait for us to go and get that merge piece, because we were separated from the people that lost, and then us, took forever. I was so hungry, and when you know something's gonna happen, and it's take way. But we got there, and like I said, I didn't even think of an idol clue or an idol being there. All I could think of was there is chicken, there are fries, I'm gonna eat some of that. But it was the best thing ever. And then after we ate, people just kind of started getting up. There was some tension between Sharif and Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like there was tension with a few other people as well. It felt like finally I wasn't in the outs, but Taylor, Reynolds, and Amber was.
Mm-hmm.
And people were willing to work with me at that point
Mm-hmm.
and get them out, which I was okay with.
So was there anyone you were prioritizing talking to or meeting?
I really wanted to work with Taylor. I knew Taylor, obviously we played this season together, or not together, but I wanted to play with her. I wanted to work with her. And the fact that people were targeting her already was not easy. So I was trying to keep it more with Carly, Austin. I really wanted Carlos to work with us and Tony, and then we could bring in Amber and Reynolds and Taylor and vote one of them out, but at least keep two of them for numbers for us. Because nobody's going to want to work with them, and they're looking for somebody to work with. And I know that because I'm one of those people that are looking for someone to work with and will just attach no matter where it is.
So who would have been your ideal merge vote?
Would have been either Todd or Megan. I definitely was aiming more for Megan during the merge before the vote out.
Yeah. So you have your first immunity challenge, and this is an endurance challenge where you're stacking and holding up blocks. Yeah. How was this challenge for you?
It was great. I was nervous. Like I said, I was shaky, but I stayed still for a long time. And I think I got to like my fifth block, and I'm like, I can't keep looking at Todd. And I believe there's like 4 people left. And I was one of those 4, and I was so proud of myself because I was like, oh my goodness, could I actually win this? But I had my back turned. I was looking at the lake and not at Todd because it's like, I'm going to move. And the wind came and knocked it down.
Oh, that's so painful.
I was so sad. I was doing so well. But that win was not in my favor at all. And that's when Todd and Josh won.
So the scramble that night's a little bit different because Taylor has something come up and, needs to leave the game. Instead of like quitting the game, she's asked to be voted out. Yeah. And so I imagine there's not much strategy heading to that emergency tribal council. Because considering everyone's been kind of been asked to write down Taylor's name, but when the votes are revealed, Taylor casts basically a null vote. She doesn't vote for anyone. Yeah. Your name appears.
Right? Can't make it do one tribal without it.
So talk to me about your reaction when you see your name come up in the voting urn.
I was angry. I was beyond angry. Later finding out that it was Carlos and knowing why, he is a one smart guy, because if there was anyone who would cause chaos for somebody writing their name on a simple vote when somebody said to write their name down, it would have been me.
So who did you think it was? And
Josh.
Really? Why?
He was crying as well doing the Taylor vote. And I was like, okay. And when we got, not back to camp, because when we got back to camp, everybody was kind of falling asleep. But it was kind of more of a fun time at camp because you got Carlos screaming because he felt something in his clothes. So he's taking his clothes off. Carly and Adam are laughing. Me, Amber, and Reynolds are like dying and laughing at Carlos. And I'm freaking out that I'm going to see a snake because our camp was really sketchy. So they kind of calmed me down and made me more happy. But the next morning, Josh wasn't looking at me in the face. He was barely talking to me, and just different body language towards me than what I was getting before when he wanted to work with me. And so I felt like he wrote my name down, and I was ready to vote Josh out.
So I have one bit of a distracting question because if I don't ask, I'm going to forget about it.
Yeah.
How did the merge tribe come to be named Lone Star?
So, as we know, in season 9, it was named after Amos.
Mm-hmm.
Season 10, it was named after Pete.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted this season to be named after Parker.
Okay.
Parker was going to have his own game, Lone Star. And it's hard to find something with Parker's name. Like, you really can't think, like, I mean, in that...
Parker's Pals?
Like, you know, I wanted something cool. Like, something that resembled Parker.
Mm-hmm.
And Parker already has his name, but what else can we... And I think it was Todd that said Lone Star. And we all just kind of stuck with it. And that was for Parker.
So it wasn't a tribute to your future winner who's currently living in Texas?
No, it was not. If that's the case, I would have named it Phoenix and hoped for the best. But yeah, no.
That's awesome. I was wondering about the story behind the tribe name.
Yeah, and it's really cool because, I mean, all three, like Amos, Pete, and Parker, they put a lot into this game. And Parker stepping in and making sure that it happened for all of us was just so kind and, like, really, really cool of him to do because we all wanted a returnee season and we all wanted to play. So the fact that he decided to take it on and do it by himself with production, he deserved a merge flag named after him. He really did. After all my complaining to him and everything about having a tarp to cover tribal and a pillow for the stumps.
I mean, are you here for Survivor or a vacation? I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of a vacation at that point.
So back to the game at hand. You said you went to bed kind of feeling okay, even though your name is written down. But in the next morning, Josh is looking at you, and you're like, he's the one.
Yeah. I went around and I said, how about Josh? And people brought it to my attention. And this is where it got a little tricky because obviously Austin was my number one. I wanted to go to the end with Austin. I wanted to work with Austin in every vote. But they were the original, I mean, besides Amber and Reynolds. But it seemed like Amber and Reynolds were already out on the outs. But Josh and Austin were coming together and people felt like they were BFFs. They had a bromance going on that they didn't even know about. So I had to not tell Austin. And that was so hard to not tell him and write Josh's name down.
So before we dig more into the strategy, let's talk about probably one of your favorite challenges that you did this season.
Yeah. The challenge that I had no strategy in. None.
So talk to me about how this challenge went for you.
So in the beginning, because people got to sit out for food, Carly and I didn't want to sit out because we thought it would be a memory challenge. And that's something that we're both good at. And there's 2 neck immunities up for grabs. So we didn't want to sit out for that. So luckily there's a great group of 6 that was willing to sit out and get food, Todd being one of them, because Todd really needed food. He was getting lightheaded, standing up too fast, and he needed some food. But me, Carly, Reynolds, Sharif, and Austin, I think that's it, decided not to sit out. I know there's a way to do this challenge. I mean, Carly even said it too. There's a way to do this challenge. And I watched it on Big Brother. And let me tell you, I never get close on Big Brother when I try to guess it and everything. I'm always way far. So they bring out the candy and they set it out there. And you see everybody run and you see people counting. So I start just pointing at the candy. I'm not counting. Like, I was like, come on. Do I really have, like, the skills right now to sit here and think?
You could be a secret accountant.
So I went back and I just started writing down random numbers. I was like, this number sounds nice to me. I don't like that. And I just like changed it. So that game was, or that challenge was all luck for me. I had no strategy. Again, I threw my board when I found out that I won an immunity challenge. And it was kind of funny because Austin and I got the same numbers for that challenge. So it was kind of cool that my final two I wanted to go to the end got immunity with me. And we were safe. And I was able to go crazy and get Josh out.
So, in terms of strategy, it sounds like Austin and Josh are being told it's going to be Amber Reynolds, and everyone else is like, nah, we're good blindsiding Josh.
Yes. And we didn't want to say anything just in case Josh had an idol. And it was...
I guess, in terms of idols, did you know where any idols were at this point? How concerned were you about idols?
I knew Amber had an idol.
Okay.
That's all. The only idol I knew about was Amber's.
How'd you know that she had an idol?
May told me that she had an idol. Like at the very beginning of the game, like even before we merged, like I knew Amber had an idol.
Amber. So did you know Amber played that idol at the losing tribal council?
I feel like that was brought up, but I like that's not something that stuck to me because then Reynolds had an idol.
And Amber also had another idol, so
yeah, like she kept finding idols left and right, and I was like, okay, like I'm just not meant to find an idol. That's where I'm at. I am not meant to find an idol. I'm just meant to like scrape by like my fingertips and like try to make it to the end. That's how I felt like I was doing this game. Dragging myself to the end.
So do you feel for the Josh vote you were really an orchestrator of that then?
I feel like I wasn't. I feel like it was a team effort because I said Josh's name, but I felt like other people helped put it together and keep it a blindside by telling me, because I would have went and told Austin.
Yeah.
And who knows where that would have gone. So
at the end of the day, Josh wouldn't have been able to do anything, right? He's already played a shot in the dark.
Exactly. So we weren't scared of that. We were just more scared that he had an idol, that he found the idol.
Now, when you're voting Josh out, you always have to think of like, where are we going after the Josh vote? What were you thinking about what the next vote would look like after Josh?
Oh, I was thinking it would look like Amber and Reynolds.
And you were totally fine with that.
I was totally okay with that. I was like, oh, I'm making it another round.
Because in retrospect, was Josh the right vote out here?
No.
Like, who would have been the right vote out at this point? Looking back and everything you know about the game.
It definitely would have been Todd, Sharif, or no, Carlos, Todd, Sharif, and Megan.
Okay.
So those would be the top people to get out.
Well, you go to the tribal council. It is probably I guess, not the cleanest vote. The cleanest vote Taylor, but this will be the second most clean vote of the season. It's a 10-1-1. Everyone votes Josh except poor Austin votes Amber, and Josh votes Reynolds, and Josh is fully blindsided. How are you feeling leaving this tribal council?
I was happy. I was like, a vote went my way. There was not one vote cast against me.
And you're immune, so no one can vote for you anyways.
Adam made that comment that somebody could write my name down still, even though I was safe, and that the rate as everything was going, I honestly wouldn't have, like, even if Carlos wanted to be, Carlos again and cause more chaos, he would have wrote my name down again. But it was nice. I felt awful lying to Austin, though. I did go up and apologize, and I told him this is what I was told, and this is why I kept it. I felt like I lost a little bit of his trust, though, for sure, because I went behind his back. But as you can see, the next time he had my back. So I really didn't lose his trust. He was just mad at me for like 5 minutes.
So your next immunity challenge, this is the slingshot challenge that took a while. And Sharif and Austin with this challenge. How was this challenge for you?
I'm a city girl. I grew up in California, San Diego, where you don't
They
see.
have a lot of slingshot contests in San Diego, don't you know?
I mean, I guess I've been missing out. And then in Phoenix, I mean, my dad would be really disappointed in me if he like watched that challenge because I mean, I got close, but I had no idea like how to hold it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh. I mean, I know I didn't train for any of like anything for Reelfoot, but maybe
worked at the previous challenge. You just wrote down random numbers. Surely you can work out for slingshots.
Exactly. I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if I won this thing again? But by like probably 30 minutes, I was like really hoping just to make one. And then by the time like 15 minutes passed by, I was like, can somebody win this? Like, I'm over this challenge. That was my least favorite challenge. Well, sorry, second least favorite challenge.
So this is going to be one of the most important votes of the season. That's because it's going to set the tone for the day. Talk me through how the strategy evolved this round for you back at camp.
So we didn't go back to camp. We stayed around the cabin because we were getting ready to go right to tribal. I think we had probably 20 minutes before tribal to figure out our votes. And Todd came to me and Carly, and he's like, we're doing the Amber Reynolds vote. Stick to the vote that you wanted to do, that we told Austin you were going to do. So I was going to write Amber's name down. Carly was never told about that plan. So she started getting a little panicky, pulled me aside, and she's like, what if we went after Todd? And I loved that idea. I was like, that's a way better idea than Amber and Reynolds. Like, way better. So we talked to Megan. And that's how I knew that I could not work with Megan. When we told her the idea, she looked at us and she's like, I have to talk around. I'll let you know. And I was like, that's a no. And then she went and talked right to Todd and Sharif. So at that point, we knew we were in trouble and my name came back up again. So nobody's talking. It's Amber, Reynolds, and me all underneath this thing. Everybody's in their groups and nobody's talking to us. Reynolds and Amber are yelling, well, we're here if anybody wants to talk to us. I'm trying to walk up to groups and they're like, give us a moment. And I'm like, cool. Like, so I'm upset. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to fight for my life anymore. Like, Adam and I went around the thing and we talked and he's like, it is you. And I was like, I know. Like, I have this gut feeling. It is me now. So we said our goodbyes. And all of a sudden, I come back from saying my goodbyes to Adam from crying. And Austin's like, we're voting Adam out. What? Like, so I guess what happened is Austin went to Adam and he said, we'll vote Megan out. And then Adam went to Megan to where people thought Adam was telling Megan we were voting her out. And turned to Adam. So that's why on Austin's vote out, he wrote Adam, #loose-lips. That was another hard vote I had to do because I gained a really good friendship with Adam. We would go on our walks, not even talk about the game and just walk. But it was him or me, and so I had to write Adam's name down.
Do you wish you had pushed it more for Megan, for Todd, or Carlos, or something like that? I mean, I not Carlos at that point, but do you wish you had pushed more for Megan or Todd?
I wish I would have. I think I was at the point where I was like, you know, like after getting your name written down so many times and like, I just felt like people kept kicking me, and there's only so much life I had left to like just keep fighting my way in. That I was like, you know what? Fine. I'll write Adam's name down. I don't care anymore. Can we just end this nightmare right now?
Did you know that? So who played an idol for you that round?
Nobody did. That was the next round. That was my vote out. Nobody played an idol for me.
Okay, so because it ends up being doesn't this end up being like a 5-5-1, or what was the vote count for this vote against Adam?
I think it was like one on Reynolds. It was me, Austin, Carly, I felt like there was more people. I can't remember, but I know it was still a little messy, and there was not like, oh, one on Reynolds because Tony was left out of the vote because they changed their vote last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, he voted me. Tony voted me out because they changed their vote last minute and didn't tell Tony they're not voting me anymore. Mm-hmm. They were voting Reynolds. So it was between Adam, and then Reynolds played his idol. There we go. Now it's all coming back to me now.
Awesome.
Reynolds played his idol for himself, where Reynolds was safe and Adam went home.
Gotcha. Yeah. This is one of the few votes where we don't have the voting confessionals. So like, I don't recall off the top of my head because I haven't been able to put in the wiki yet. But okay, so Reynolds plays his idol for himself, negates 5 votes. You catch a vote from Tony again. And 5 votes for Adam seals the deal, and he's voted out.
Yeah, and that was really, really hard. I think on everybody. That's when we went back to camp. Or no, I don't think we went back to camp. We didn't go all the way into camp. We stood on like the outside of our camp area and everything in the grassy field. And it was chaotic. Like you have Amber, Reynolds, and I and Austin all talking. Like all 3 of us are kind of like, you know what, this is crap. Like let's all get together and just start some chaos right now. Because at this point I was like, you know what? Nobody wants to work with me. Why am I being nice and innocent and being kind to people when literally they're just stabbing me in the back?
How was working with Amber Reynolds?
It was fun. It was fun. Definitely would not be able to work with them full time. They brought out my bad side. But they're really good at like, I was like, you know, in The Little Mermaid when Ursula's really good at convincing Ariel to give up her voice. Amber is like Ursula. She's really good at like convincing you to like just switch. Like, why are you going with them? We're telling you we want to work with you. We haven't wrote your name down once. We wrote Taylor's name down instead. And it's like, oh, okay, Ursula, you can have my voice. Like, take it. We haven't gotten to the point where it gets really bad where, like, this is after the next immunity challenge when we go back.
Because so how was the next immunity challenge for you?
It was awful. It was awful. I did better, but so in my season, we had the MIA camp, and we had to fight our way to the game.
And we had beanbag tosses, right?
This is the beanbag toss. And coming back out and seeing the challenge with the beanbag toss, I looked at Parker and I said, this is PTSD. It was scary. I'm not really good at tossing things and aiming correctly. And later do I find out I get out my first season, the same challenge that I get out this season, the stupid beanbag toss. Yeah, so it really did not feel good. I think I got like 12 points, maybe a little less, because I was going for the low numbers just to at least make it on the board, because there's no way I was going to throw it all the way on the other side and make it.
So Carly and Reynolds win this challenge.
Yes.
Talk to me about the walk back to camp.
I was more the walk back. I think we were more just happy for Carly. I was happy for both Carly and Reynolds. I think more people were happy for Carly because Carly's also same boat, never won an immunity challenge, and the fact that she won this challenge was amazing. And same for Reynolds. Reynolds has been on the bottom this whole time, so the fact that he won and he's finally safe is nice.
Especially if you're looking at like if it's a 5-5 deadlock and your side has 2 immunities, you have to feel kind of good if the rock draw is in the imminent future.
Well, I did feel good. I felt really, really good actually. And then we got back to camp. An idol has been played. Reynolds' idol has been played. So there's another idol at camp. It's Sharif in front, me and Reynolds. Reynolds and I are trying to get past Sharif. But Sharif keeps moving, and there was a point that he had his torch that he turned it this way to where we couldn't pass. And all of a sudden we get close and Reynolds starts. Then you see Sharif throws his stuff and runs. I throw my stuff and I start looking, and we're all looking for idols. This is when it gets chaotic, and it was the most fun I ever had on Reelfoot because I've never been a part of something this crazy. There was a part in the thing where I'm like running through bushes and I'm terrified of snakes. Whenever I'm picking up sticks, like I'm hitting something to make sure there's no snakes. All of a sudden I was like, I'm not afraid of snakes anymore. And I'm like running through, like trying to find an idol.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden I'm looking and I see Megan walk by with her hands in her pocket. Everybody's looking for an idol and she's like, I'll do a confessional. Okay, no. You just walk by me with your hands in your pocket and you're offering to do a confessional during a time like this? Are you silly? And then I started putting it all together and I'm like, she found the idol.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Amber, Reynolds, and Carly and I told them that Megan has the idol. And that's when we all decided to do a girl group plus Reynolds and work all together.
Mm-hmm. By girl group, it's you, Carly, Amber, and Megan?
No.
Yeah.
Without Megan.
So you, Carly, Megan, Reynolds, and no Austin.
I would like to pull Austin in. I think they had a little less trust with Austin, as I would have just kept Austin because he's shown me loyalty this whole game.
Mm-hmm.
I was full-heartedly going to go to the final 2 or 3 with Austin in mind. I didn't care who else was in that third seat, as long as it was Austin and I fighting it out to the end.
So you know that Megan's the idol. How is the strategy then for who you vote for go down?
Well, we decided it's maybe we can get Megan to flush her idol. Mm-hmm. Make her feel like it's her. Mm-hmm. And actually vote out Todd. Mm-hmm. So we all are talking, and Austin's in this with me, Amber, Reynolds, and Carly. We're talking about this, and we both all agreed not to tell Tony because Tony will tell. And Tony is on, he's having a really hard time. He was very emotional. He was crying. Like, I think the game was finally getting to him. Mm-hmm. He was left out on the last vote, mm-hmm. and he was the only one that wrote my name down, which I'm sure was super hard for him. People coming up and talking game, like he was not getting a break. Mm-hmm. And I think he was overwhelmed. I mean, like, we all were overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. But I think it hit him harder. Mm-hmm. Because Tony is a really nice guy and real, like, one of the sweetest mans ever. Mm-hmm. So for him to play a game where you literally have to lie and manipulate and, you know, you have hard competitors. I mean, we're all really good competitors in our own ways. Mm-hmm. There isn't, like, I said this coming into the game, there is not a person in this game that is going to make it to the end and be a GOAT. Because we're all good players. Is there some that are easier to beat that you think of? Yes. I mean, I've thought of that too, of bringing Amber to the end with me and Austin because jury management. It didn't. Mm-hmm. She didn't have good jury management. So there's certain things that people thought like that. And I think Tony, it just hit him differently. Mm-hmm. Because we're all friends. We're a family, and we're out here now, like, mm-hmm. burning bridges. When really it's not burning. I really don't see any hard blood when people voted me out. Mm-hmm. So Austin got his way because we were going to tell Austin to tell Tony that it's Megan. Mm-hmm. So then he would tell Megan, and Megan would do her idol on her. Austin's like, I don't want to lie to Tony again. Blah, blah, blah. And tells Tony that we're going to vote Todd. Well... That's how it all backfired. And we all thought we had a plan. I kind of had a feeling that something would go wrong. I had this feeling in my gut. And you know how in the immunity challenge that I won that we got food? Mm-hmm. I ate a lot of that before I left because I felt like I was going to get voted out, and I was so mad at these people. I'm not going to dump their rice. I'm not going to throw their flint. I'm not going to make life miserable for them at
You eat all
camp.
the pasta?
I'm going to eat the food, the good food. You guys can have the rice, but I'll eat the good food. But then a part of me, after a while, seeing like everybody kind of on my side be calm about it and Tony feel calm, I felt good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we all started going to tribal, and I actually felt really, really good that I was going to make it again. Just by the skin of my teeth that I was going to make it past this vote out.
So did you think it was going to be a 6-4?
Yeah. I thought it would be on me.
Were you prepared to go the rocks?
I was ready. I knew if we had to go to rocks, I'd rather go to rocks than not.
Did you know the other side was voting for you?
I had a feeling.
Okay.
They've been trying to get me out this whole time, so what's any different than now? Because in their eyes, they could get out Amber and Reynolds whenever they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently I was obviously more of a difficult person to get out. I mean, after how many tries, I think they were going to try to do it one more time. And they were successful in this one.
So let's see. So you get 5 votes here, 5, 1 vote here, 5, 6, 7, let's see, 12, 13, 14, 15. Well, that's unfortunate. You tied Josh. So I don't think, so I'll get the vote tallies later. So I don't think you have the most, but I think you're at least tied for the most as of right now.
Oh, that's perfect. Josh and I have something else in common.
Yeah, because Taylor got 11. Ooh, Taylor also probably got 15 too. So there's a couple people who are really vote magnets this season, and you were one of them.
I know. I don't understand. I'm still, and then making it to the jury, like asking, like, oh, would you take me to the final 3? Would you? Josh was the only person in Austin that would take me to the final 3. Nobody else wanted to go against me in the final 3.
So what was your reaction at the tribal council when Megan stands up and says, Carlos, Todd, Sharif, and Tony, it's us 5 to the end, and I'm playing this for Todd?
I was shocked. I was more shocked that she played it for Todd and not herself. But that's when I knew my time was over. I actually started getting my water bottle and like grabbing my stuff and getting ready because I knew it was my time. So
you're voted out of the game, but you're on the jury. Talk to me about life as a juror.
Oh, it was so much fun. I was actually, I needed a shower. I was actually sitting doing that tribal council and I smelled myself and my hair was all matted. It was just, and to be in the jury with Adam and Josh, it was really, really nice. Josh and we connected way better in the jury room, and he was someone that I was willing, and I feel dumb trying to get him out because I asked him, and I was like, did you write my name down? And he's like, I didn't. And that's when it started being a question for everybody who to write my name down. So it was kind of like Dr. Seuss, like, are you my mother? Like, I was like, did you write my name? Like, did you write my name?
I think that's one of the most interesting but also infuriating things about playing these games is you get voted out, or like sometimes you're just like, how did this happen? And you don't, and it takes sometimes a couple of days to learn, like, how did the votes go down exactly? Who
exactly. And it's so frustrating because I would have played with Josh long term, but it was literally me just getting in my head, and all because Josh didn't make eye contact with me like one time made him a target. So I thought Austin would be out next because he was on the outs too. So I was rooting for Austin. But at that moment, Megan had my vote because that was the coolest vote out. I mean, if I could get voted out in any way, that would be the way I get voted out.
Gotcha. Well, so Austin doesn't go out. Instead, the vote turns to Carly, and an idol's played, and Sharif goes out. And talk me through just as you're watching the rest of the season play out from the jury.
Oh my gosh, it was kind of insane because like when you walk up as a jury member, you're like, who has the immunity necklace? Who, like, we're all guessing, like, who's going to be out next. And obviously, as each person comes in, you hear a little more details about what's going on. So it was a lot of fun. I had more fun as a jury member than I thought, maybe more than inside the game. Because not only did the power lay in my hands to vote, I got to watch it all happen, like, at least in tribals, and then hear about it. But it's always he said, she said. Like, do you really trust these people? Like, was Sharif talking about Megan? I knew they were close. Am I going to take his word to heart? Or it's kind of like how my relationship with Austin was. I'm coming in talking how great of Austin's game is, but are they going to, like, take my opinion to the winner? You know, like, it's all confusing until we found out that Carlos was the mole.
Did you know there's a mole between the sides?
I thought it was Tony. So when I found out it was Carlos, my mind was like, it was blown. And then I heard about Amber and Tony's fight during the tribal, and then it kept going, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening? It was just a lot going on. It was a lot to process. But it was kind of cool. I enjoyed being on the jury more than anything else and watching everybody get voted out one by one by one.
So rolling into Final Tribal, it's going to be Megan, Todd, and Austin. Were you leaning one way or the other, or did you know for sure how you wanted to vote?
I was willing. So I was not going to vote for Todd. I'm sorry if Todd is watching, but I was not going to cast my vote against him because I was looking for a change and someone who really tried to make it work in this game socially. Megan still had a chance for me. I was more leaning towards Austin, but Megan still had a chance. I was willing to listen to her talk and answer my question about being social. And she actually almost got it until she didn't own up that she was more social this season, because I think she was.
Imagine if Megan had canceled out your vote and you had tried to vote for her. That would have been unfortunate.
I would have laughed. I would have laughed. That actually was the biggest shock ever. I was so excited because I didn't make it a jury in my first game. And like I said, I got to vote for the winner. I get up there, write Austin's name, says my speech, and Pete, being Pete, puts the little like note right on the box, and I'm like, like, I think I walked back to my seat and I chugged my bottle of wine because I didn't know how to process this, like, happening.
Going into the Final Tribal Council, did you feel like it was neck and neck between Megan and Austin, or the jury was leaning one way or leaning in one way or the other?
I think it was neck to neck. I really think it came down to speech and who talked better. But it seemed like people weren't really set in stone who they wanted until after, when people were voting, that they were like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. But it wasn't really a for sure answer.
Well, thankfully, the person who you would have voted to win did end up winning in a 5-3 vote.
It was great. I was so happy for him. He deserved to win. He really did.
How was the post game of your experience?
It was fun. I think it's more like after that long of being in, like I'm social out. Like I'm tired. I'm done being social for a while. I just had some great news sprung on me. And so I was kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So it was a lot for me to handle. But it was a lot of fun. It was nice to see people outside their element and also seeing people be who they are with their friends. And there was no bad blood. everybody was still really close, because that's the one thing that's scary about a returning season. Is you have these close friends, but are you going to lose these friends because of a game? So,
is there anything else of note you want to bring up about your experience?
No, I mean, I loved every single moment. I got 3 buffs, immunity, shot in the dark. I literally got an award that said never say die. So I feel like I did really, really well this season, and there's nothing I would change. And I'm just thankful I got to play and make it this far with a great group of people. Literally some of the best like players that I have met. I'm sure there's better ones out there, but for this season, this was a great cast, and it was scary going into it. And the fact that I made it this far with all these people that I learned from was even better, that I walked out with friends. Like, I don't care that I didn't win. I don't care that they wanted me out. This was an amazing experience altogether.
Well, as we're up here, I have a series of like rapid fire questions I want to throw your way.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I guess so, yeah.
All right. So, who from your original season, Bluff Ranch, still has unfinished business?
Frank.
Well, this will be interesting, because who from this current season do you think still has unfinished business?
Clark.
I think that both those are pretty fair answers.
Yeah.
What was your favorite challenge of the season?
The one I
won. What was your favorite moment at camp?
Corey definitely hit this one every morning, getting out of the trash bag and saying, "Fuck, I hate mornings." That literally made the morning even better to start my day.
Who do you wish you had a chance to work with but didn't?
Josh.
Who surprised you the most out there?
Carly.
What was your lowest moment in the game?
The swap, when I literally cried every single immunity and challenge and tribal. I cried. I was always crying. I felt like I was giving up.
What was your highest moment in the game?
The shot in the dark.
Well, this will make it easy. Shot in the dark, love it or hate it?
Oh, I love it.
What is your takeaway from the season? What have you learned?
I learned that it's better to just be yourself and go out and have fun than try to be someone different just to win a live game. So,
you've played 2 seasons of Reelfoot. Are you hanging it up, or are you open to another game in the future?
I will definitely be open for another game in the far future.
I mean, you're now the best placing player in the Morgette household, right?
I am.
And like, no one can take that away from you.
No, and it's really nice. I mean, Damien still has a shot at playing in a few years, so who knows? He can come in and steal my placement the first time after seeing his dad and my mistakes.
As we wrap up, is there anyone you want to shout out, or any last things you want to say?
I basically want to shout out to the whole season 11 cast. Honestly, I couldn't ask for better people to play with. Like I said, I gained a whole new level for respect for each and every one of those players out there. A shout out to Parker for being an amazing host, and the production team for making this all happen. And for the people watching, I had a big group of people watching me and rooting for me. And I mean, it takes a lot of effort to watch every day, every live. And that's from the bottom of my heart. I can't even be more thankful, to be honest. But yeah, this whole season wouldn't have been anything without the cast, production, and Parker.
Well, Skyler, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, not once, not twice, but your 3rd time talking with me on the podcast. Thank you for being my first 2-parter. I'm sorry that things just didn't quite work out the other day, but I'm glad we could wrap it up tonight. And I really appreciate having a chance to kind of walk through all your story, just because you were just a big target this season, for better or worse.
I was, but it was a lot of fun. And thank you for having me 3 times.
Hopefully more in the future.
I'm hoping, I mean, maybe give it a couple more years, but yeah, maybe every 2 years.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm going to be out for the 4th of July weekend. I imagine most of us have plans for the 4th of July, but believe next Thursday and Friday, I will be talking with both Josh and Megan, so I can finally hear from the last person of the final 3, as well as hear Josh, who was a target every tribal council he attended where he was vulnerable, it seems. So tune in for that. And Skyler, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.